If you're someone trying to join the beauty industry, or you're tired of corporate politics and dream of being your own boss one day, of building something meaningful and impactful, but you're also really scared to take that leap because you're wondering if you're too delusional for dreaming so big. Today's guest is someone who has lived through all of those questions. She's built up her own business without a safety net and is now a licensed esthetician with her own sugaring business for over 20 years and a clientele that includes people you may recognize on the red carpet. So, Deborah.
Hi, thanks for having me.
Welcome to Tea Time with Janice. Thanks for being here.
This is my very first podcast.
Really?
Yes.
I'm honored, and I hope that you have the most fun.
I'm already having fun.
Okay. Okay, so as soon as you walked in the door, you said, "Do you have coffee?" And I do have coffee. That's going to be today's drink. Every episode, I try to pick a drink that matches the person that I'm interviewing. And I think that this one is really great because it comes from my favorite coffee shop, Series A in Beverly Hills, and you're my favorite person. And I think the espresso represents boldness for starting a business in such a cutthroat industry. The milk adds sweetness, which I think is like you infusing your spirit and your heart into the business. And then the honeycomb is obviously a nod to your sugaring business.
Oh my gosh, I'm gonna cry.
I did it.
That was beautiful. That was really beautiful.
I hope you like it.
And this is delicious.
Oh, good.
I don't know if I'm deserving of all of that.
I think you are.
But thank you. Thank you for seeing me that way.
I do see you that way.
I'm moved by that. Thank you. Thank you.
It's so nice. The first time someone's cried on the podcast.
I'm not surprised it's me.
Neither am I.
It's tea time with Janice.
Okay, so I want to start from the very, very beginning, going back to before you even started sugaring. Can you tell me what life was like then?
I grew up in a pretty unsupervised household. My parents divorced really, really young, and my mom worked in a factory. She was a stay-home mom when they were married, but after they divorced, my father decided he wanted to be an artist. He was an engineer. His main focus was in aerospace, and he wanted to paint, and he couldn't do that dream while caring for a family. So he signed away his portion of the house to my mom in lieu of child support. And, my mom had to get a job in a factory. So we were left unattended for a long time. My sister is 4 years older than me, and she kind of like took the reins and ran the household. And so I think that mainly I was driven by hunger.
to start hustling.
So I started working at the swap meet. I forged a work permit, and I worked at a Olin Mills, which is a photography studio. And I was
at the mall?
I was like 12, 13 years old, acting like, oh, you're here to take a portrait with your children, and doing a whole sitting for them. So yes, I have been working since I was probably about 12 years old.
Where did you find the independence? Was it looking at your sister? Because she was already taking care of the household. So
it's kind of hard to even share this. I lived in a house that sometimes didn't have electricity. So it's not like she was running the household, but she was the only adult in my life that was caring for me at a young age. So, at 12 years old, I realized, okay, I got to work, and then I thought I needed a man to take care of me. That was kind of the gear I was in. So I worked during high school and actually elementary school. And then I married right out of high school. Right out of high school, I got married.
And when you were married and out of high school, were you also working, or then were you in the mentality like, okay, someone's going to take care of me now?
I did what a lot of girls in the 70s and early 80s, late 80s did, is I got pregnant. And then I was
Immediately?
I got pregnant and I'm like, now you have to marry me. So they used to call that trapping, a man.
With a child?
I didn't know any better. My mom was like an OG chopular woman. She was beautiful and she had a lot of boyfriends that took care of her, and you do and you see, and that's where my mom, that's how she wasn't in the house. She was with her rich boyfriends.
But that's what you observed.
So that's what I observed, and that's what I learned, and that's what I repeated.
Okay. And you repeated it until
I got married, and I had a really happy life while I was married. We had 3 children, and I was a stay-home mom. I became a stay-home mom at, I think I was about 20 years old. But
back then were all stay-at-home moms 20 years old?
No, I was kind of like the one that wanted the white picket fence because I didn't have it growing up. My friends had more of that white picket fence, and they were trying to like rebel against that, where I was like, get me in the house. I want the white picket fence.
But I know you now as this like really badass entrepreneur. Like you have your own business and you're willing to fight for it and protect it. So how do you go from like the white picket fence stay-at-home mom to now just owning your business?
I think I have that wild side and I have that curious side. I grew up with a father that was an artist that told me, don't ever watch television, paint. Use your creativity to create something. So I had that instilled in me. Then I had my grandfather, my dad's father, telling me, you need to pay your taxes and pay your bills, and this is how you write a check. He taught me how to write a check, and he gave me my first car. I had to go over there every Friday so that he could look after my car. So I think it's a perfect balance. I have some desire to be responsible, and I have a lot of desire to be wild and creative, and the two just smashed together. So I was married, and then, I think that wild side kind of started peeking out of the picket fence and was like, wait a second, you know what? I want to be out here where I want to be in the wild. That's where I belong. I'm trying to be this cookie cutter wife, and I'm trying to be this perfect Christian woman. And I was struggling. I wanted a little bit of the wild side. So I stepped out, and then I couldn't find my way back for a while. So I ended up getting a divorce. But before I divorced, I actually walked into my sister-in-law's graduation at a beauty school. And I knew the moment I walked into that beauty school, I'm home. And I didn't realize it then, but now, today, I look at it and I'm like, of course, both of my grandmothers were beauticians. My mom's mom was a beautician that worked for a company called Max Factor, which became Maybelline, and she was an executive back in the 50s and 60s. So she'd bring us lip glosses, and I just remember her. She lived in Lake Isabella, and she kind of wore fur like around her neck and was like, don't touch us, you're sticky. But she would give us things and then she would leave. And I didn't have her in my life on an everyday basis, but looking back, I'm like, oh yeah. And then my dad's mom was a nail tech and would paint my nails at the dining room table. And my father was a barber in the Navy. And my mother-in-law was also a beautician. She was a nail tech. So beauty's in my blood. So obviously I didn't even know, but that is where it came from. That's where that feeling of, oh, this is where I belong.
Do you think you would have ever found beauty in being an esthetician if it wasn't for the graduation?
I worry that I don't. So I often go back to that moment and that time, and I think about it a lot now. because they say that, when God does something incredible for you, that you should think on that thing a lot. So I do often revisit that time that I walked in and I'm like, wow, thank God for that moment.
You never realize in the moment why something happens, but then looking back after everything that you've gone through, then you realize, oh, that probably happened because it was preparing me for this thing right now.
Yes. So many things that we complain about, like, why didn't I get that job? Or why didn't I do this? And sometimes it's protection. It's not rejection, it's protection.
But it's hard to believe that when you're getting rejected or like you're feeling defeated or I don't know. It's because you don't know.
You don't know. You don't know.
So you're at this graduation and you're like, okay, I want to be an esthetician.
I signed up for school the next day.
What?
I told my husband at the time, I have to do this. Like, I want to sign up for school.
And
Please.
then you started
and
going
the
to
kids
school.
were a little bit older then, so they were all in school. And I was actually cleaning houses. I started cleaning houses right out of high school in 11th grade. I grew up in Norwalk, California. It's kind of a rough area. And I was taking the bus, and the bus got shot at. There was a lot of gang members in the area. It was a rough area. And, I was used to it. Drive-by shootings was a thing in the 90s, I'd say. Early 90s, late 80s. It was very prevalent. And anyways, the bus got shot at. I never got on the bus again. I never went to school again. I decided the next day I'm getting a job and I'm not getting on the bus again. So,
and did that pay for the bill for school when you wanted to go to beauty school?
I think I have to give all of it to my ex-husband. He paid it. But back then, I paid $2,000 to go to esthetician school. It was $2,000.
That's kind of really cheap.
It is. Right now, I think the going rate is, the lowest school that I've found is probably around $7,500, which I think is so affordable. Even $10,000.
I think it still is, but compared to $2,000, it just seems like a huge increase because it's like 5 times.
It is. It's a huge increase.
Because you went to beauty school and graduated, then you were able to start your own sugaring business.
I graduated from beauty school and we built myself a skincare studio in my backyard. It was part of my garage, but we did a really nice job. There was a cobblestone walkway and it didn't look like a garage. It looked like a cottage. And I was really obsessed with Dermalogica back then. So I fashioned it to look like the Dermalogica studio. So it was very sterile, stainless steel, really soft sea moss green walls and just white. It was very clinical.
How did you find your first client to go there?
So I would go on the soccer field and I'd be wearing my scrubs.
To look professional, like you came from work.
Yeah, and people would be like, "Oh, are you a nurse?" And I'd go, "Oh no, I'm an esthetician. Do you want your eyebrows waxed?" And then people would come to my house that I would meet on the soccer field, just other moms at the school, and that's how I started my business. There was no computers, there was no Instagram, there was no nothing back then. There was one man that had a big giant printer, probably the size of this couch and coffee table, and you would go and he would make you a flyer and then you would go door to door and you'd leave the flyers. But I quickly realized that I couldn't do much in my backyard.
Because it would just be basically for the neighborhood that lived there.
Or just people that you know. And I've just always had bigger dreams.
So then you decided in your neighborhood that you wanted to grow bigger. So how did you do that?
Actually, I had a woman reach out to me. She was beautiful, beautiful woman named Anna. And she had a beauty supply in my neighborhood that I would send all of my customers to, because I didn't sell any kind of retail. I didn't know anything like that. Beyond me doing the service, I really didn't understand business whatsoever. I mean, mind you, I left school at 11th grade. I know how to attract money, but I didn't know how to grow it or anything about business. So I'd send them all to Anna to Beauty Concept. And one day she called and she said, "Can you please come to my store?" And I said, okay. So I go in there, and I remember she had this whole pile of expensive skincare that I could have never afforded to buy. And she said, "Hello, I want this to give to you as a gift." And I said, okay. And there was a big Murad massage lotion. I remember thinking, I won the lottery in my head. And she goes, "You send so many customers here. I want you to come here. I want you to work here." And I said, no, I have a room at my house and it's free to work there. So she goes, no. I don't want you to pay. I just want you to be here because you're a good girl and I want you to be here. And that was my first blessing and open door where somebody offered me a treatment room in their studio. I mean, in their beauty supply with no rent. It was free.
Because she believed in you.
Because she believed in me. And she knew, this girl will come here and she'll sell product. So she was a smart businesswoman to bring me in there because I'm going to sell her Dermalogica all day long, So I worked there for a little bit, and that's what kind of opened my eyes to expansion. And then I have a friend who has continually inspired me, my friend Dawn. She has always inspired me. So, but anyway, she goes, "Don't you want to walk into a spa and the doors just open and it goes, oh." And she was like my rich friend. Even though she wasn't rich, I thought she was rich because she had a 2-story house. And to me, anyone that had a 2-story house was rich. So she did know a little bit more of the finer things, and she encouraged me. And then I went and got a job at Glen Ivy, which is a pretty big outfit. At the time, they had day spas and they had the hot springs, and it's Club Med. Everybody loves to go to Club Med and go there with their girlfriend. So I got that job, and that opened so many doors for me. So many doors. I learned so much working at a high volume spa. I saw, because at the beauty supply, there was just a bunch of grandmas there getting shampoos and sets. And I'm like, can I massage your hand?
No, you can't rip their hairs. That would.
There was no business there. It's a tiny beauty supply in the middle of La Mirada, which is a sleepy town where there's no freeways. Nobody is coming in or going out. It's just the people that live there. So it's a great place to raise a family, but it's not necessarily a great place to start up a lucrative or busy business. So going to Glen Ivy changed my entire trajectory on where I was going in the skincare world. It exposed me to so many different modalities and people and therapists, from massage therapists to nail techs to, all kinds, and also high-end luxury.
But weren't you exposed to this when you went to beauty school already? Or
No.
is it completely different? Really?
No, we called beauty school back in the day. We called it the beauty sewer.
That's the opposite of beauty, I feel like.
It is, because the beauty school, a lot of people think that they're going to beauty school to learn beauty, but really you're not. You're going to beauty school to collect the hours the state requires for you to have and hold this license.
I think a lot of people, when they think about being an entrepreneur and starting their own business, I'm guilty of this too. It's like, it needs to happen right now. And even though you don't know anything and you don't have a lot of work experience, why am I not blowing up? And before you started your business, you had to work for probably like 15 years at multiple different jobs with a bunch of people giving you different opportunities for you to be able to even start building your business from scratch. And then to start building your business, you still needed clients and a space and all of that. So really building a business is like life consuming.
Yes, it takes years. And I think what the computer has done, what the internet has done, what the microwave has done is made you think that it happens like that. The company that I'm running right now, I started in 2014. It's 2025. It's just over the last couple years really hit where the brand is recognized even outside of the US, which to me, that's major and crazy. It blows my mind, but it didn't happen overnight. And you know what? I wanted to quit. There was times I wanted to quit. I have cried through so many different times in my career. I have 2 spa locations, and then I have a sugaring manufacturing company. I think everywhere and everything you do creates some type of experience that you could use in your today business. You know, at Glen Ivy, I learned how to work as a team. I learned how to manage time. I learned I remember the first day and I walked over to the computer and the columns, I had been working out of a paper notebook, like, you know, Sandra's at 11 and then, you know, Suzanne's at 4. And I would remember walking over to the computer and thinking, I can't do this. I can't do this. There was columns and there was all these people's names and some services in pink and blue. And I remember thinking, I can't do this. I can't do this. But you know what? I did it. I stayed. I didn't give up. And I became a corporate executive at that company.
Nice.
But I remember that day walking up to that computer, and I think that, a lot of people get overwhelmed with the I can'ts and the obstacles, and they fail to see the opportunities.
Yeah.
So if you could just hold on long enough through, you know what, who cares about all the things that can go wrong? What about like some things that can go right?
But that takes a lot more energy to think about what can go right than to go wrong.
I guess for me, I've just had to survive since I was younger, so I didn't have a choice but to survive.
Yeah,
I never had anybody taking care of me, so it was like, I got to make this happen. So I did. I stood in front of that computer, and I inside was like, I don't think I can do this. I can't do this. And by the end of the day, the next day, I was like, oh, I got it. All right. It's like, just, you got to throw yourself out there, and you got to not be afraid to fail and not afraid to look dumb, and, just do it. And then you'll find, people, there's a lot of helpful people out there that want to help people succeed naturally. And, you're kind of like magnets towards each other. So I just have a very positive outlook where I do feel like I could do anything I want. I mean, I'm not saying like I battle just like anybody else with mental health issues, depression, darkness and stuff. But I don't know, somehow my head always spins back to I can do all things.
But you told me a story once where you were kind of like stuck in this pit. It was during COVID, and you thought that maybe Sugar Mama wouldn't be able to continue on because you were blindsided. What was going on then, and then how did you get out of it?
I think that was probably one of the hardest things in my entire life, business-wise, personally, emotionally, other than, losing my mom, was I had a team and we were working, and COVID hit, the pandemic hit, and our business is shut down. I'm already overwhelmed with the amount of, having a team is a lot. It's a lot. I had 2 phones and tons of laundry and customers and I wanted to be inspiring, but you get a little crazy. What they say, like business owners, oh, that business owner, she's so crazy. She is. I'm here to say she is crazy because it takes a crazy person.
Well, you're doing it
to
by yourself,
start
basically.
a business. So anyways, long story short, it's a very long story, but the providers all got together and decided to leave together. I had 2 corporate leases. I woke up one morning to an email that said, "Hey, Sugar Mama family. Sugar Mama has a new booking link. Click here to book your next appointment." And I'm reading this in my own bed because it's from my company, and I don't write emails. So I'm like, what is this? So I clicked it and it redirected me to their new business.
So someone stole your business.
So basically they took the client list and they, sent out a mass email and they said, we're over here. So basically having people that you cared about all say you suck and I don't want to work with you and I don't even want to know you was devastating. I was blowing through my savings because of COVID. The business was shut down. And like I said, I attract money, but I don't necessarily know how to manage it. So I was blowing through my savings. I was living in utter fear. It was very stressful. So I don't blame them for not wanting to work with me. I don't blame them. However, that sent me into a tailspin that I didn't know if I could get out of. It was pretty bad. It was darkness. Nobody taught me how to run a business. I was just winging it, and I was a hurt little girl still with those same kind of feelings on the inside, and I was trying to be this executive grown-up and run a business, and it was a mess. I was a mess. So what was the worst thing that I thought turned out to be the best thing, because it made me face who I was and who I wanted to be.
So how did you turn it around?
I sought therapy. I went to therapists. I did like a year of talking therapy, and then I also did a year of cognitive therapy, which is non-talking therapy, behavior modification, cranial therapy, sound therapy, all kinds of different things to regulate my nervous system so that I could think straight. So I could really look at what the heck is going on and what do I want to do now, because now I have 2 corporate leases. It's just me. And when COVID hit, I pivoted, and COVID and the pandemic, which was meant to close a small business like mine, actually caused me to grow. So I grew from it.
What did you pivot into?
I pivoted into the manufacturing of the sugar paste more.
Oh, so then you didn't always just have to rely on your service part, but you could also just be sending people the ingredients to be able to.
Well, I was manufacturing sugar paste, but I was manufacturing at a small scale, and then I ended up really taking my focus and putting my focus on higher manufacturing and education, training. So I had a background at Glen Ivy in training, so I used that to kind of pivot. But now I look back and I'm thankful for the experience, even though it was really hard. It really did cause me to grow up as a woman. It caused me to become more healthy. And it also caused me to look at my personal life, like, who am I outside of Sugar Mama? I'm Deborah. I'm Debbie. I'm Debbie from the block. And I love to travel, and I love to explore, and I love to do this. And I'm more than just a esthetician or a sugar mama.
Is that why you always take or every other month you take a month off to go on the road trips and live in your van and just be in the forest and unplug. Is that why? Because you always want to come back to who you are?
Yes, I do. I don't want to get sucked into the matrix because I do all of the social media, and I haven't sourced it out because I want it to be really super authentic. This is a salt of the earth company. It's small, and I'm okay with it staying a little bit smaller. So that I can do things like that, like escape into the forest. And yeah, that's how I recharge, and that's how I reclaim my health, is when I'm on the road. I eat healthier, I consume less social media, I'm outside in nature, frolicking. So some of the worst things turned into be the best things.
I also feel like this experience, like COVID, really taught you that you can separate being a businesswoman versus being the fun, supportive, spiritual, nice friend. But I think as an entrepreneur, when your business is so personal, it's probably really hard to always be fighting that duality, right?
I didn't have any duality before. I was just all work, and I was all just, I am a workaholic.
Yeah.
And that probably stems from some type of mental illness. You know, we have different coping mechanisms.
But I think to build a business, you need to obsess over it.
You have to. You have to. Seriously, like, you can't party and...
No, there's only 24 hours a day.
Yes. So you do have to stay focused. And I learned this saying that you live like nobody else today so that you can live and give like nobody else tomorrow. And that statement always stuck with me, and I did it. I put my nose to the grindstone, and now I am in a position where I can help other people create income for themselves.
So the one reason why I drive like 30 minutes to an hour down here is because of Deborah. Like, I love going there because we get to just talk, and I feel like it is kind of like a therapy session for me, and it's amazing. But when you're in the service industry, I think some people just suck. Like, they're mean people, and they are entitled, or they're rude. Have you ever experienced something like that?
I remember this one celebrity, we started walking to the room, and she walked ahead of me, and I was just at a place in my life where I was like, I thought I was something, you know. My head started getting big because I was having some success in my industry. Now I'm working in Beverly Hills. I'm on my way to being
You're dealing with celebrities.
Yeah, and I'm thinking, I'm going to be an esthetician to the stars. Well, I quickly realized I don't like stars. I don't want to do this because I feel like it's not a joy, let me serve you. It's you need to serve me. It's just like
transactional.
It's the other side of the coin. So at that point, I'm like, I don't even care. I had sold a house, so I had a little bit of money in the bank from my divorce, and I felt like I was in a position where I didn't really care about my job, so I didn't move, and I stayed there. And she turns around, and I'm like, if you want to follow me, I'll take you to the room. And she did. She followed me. She actually, I think,
respected you.
Respected the fact that I wasn't going to let her treat me like that. And then I didn't talk to her during the treatment, and she's asking me if I would come to her home. And I remember telling her, why don't you wait and see if you like my work first? And I worked for that woman for years after that, going to her home, and it was horrible every single time.
That's not where I thought you were going to go with that story.
It was pretty horrible. So, yeah, I don't want to work with celebrities, and I don't work with celebrities. I only have one. special person that I keep.
Me! Just kidding.
Yeah.
I'm kidding. There's this one question I really want to ask you. This whole episode, I think you've really highlighted how much you care about your clients and how intimate it is and how you love helping people. And you are this very spiritual, supportive friend. And that's who I know you as. But I think that that's a lot about inner beauty. But you work in an industry that promotes outer beauty. So how do you balance that contradiction?
I focused more on skincare and hair removal than some of the more glam type stuff.
Okay.
You know? And I have a younger clientele, so I also didn't want them to feel like they needed to highly glam up to be acceptable in society. So I kind of separated myself from a lot of things like, you know, injectors and filler people and stuff like that. Although I'm not against that. And I just got my lips done and I think they look luscious
Filler?
and great. Mm-hmm.
They do look really luscious.
Thank
the shape
you.
is great.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm 53 though. So for a young woman, I would not encourage you to do something like that.
With
I'd
filler?
encourage you to love on yourself the way you look naturally. But I think everybody should do whatever they want to do. The longer I live, the more I realize that everybody should do whatever they want to do.
Do you feel like when people are lying there and in your studio getting like a facial or hair removal, that some people do feel uncomfortable or insecure because they're really vulnerable?
I feel like it's a drug that I chase to get a woman to drop her pants and feel comfortable with me. To make somebody feel comfortable in my presence enough to remove their clothes, knowing that they're going to be hurt physically, I'm going to hurt them, and so, yeah, there's a lot that goes into that. And I think that being somebody that could make somebody feel comfortable and safe that's the drug that's what keeps me high.
I love that perspective. I like that you're saying that because it is the most vulnerable you can be.
Seriously. And I've been in that position. My sister's all skinny and has tight skin, and I've had 3 babies, and I've been big and small. I've been all the sizes, you know, and at the time I was over 200 pounds. I was a plus size girly, and I didn't even let my hubby see me with the lights on. So it was a lot to walk into a place and get a Brazilian. And she traumatized me. And I have done it differently from that day. I knew I would never make a woman feel that way. I'd never say the things she said to me.
Because of that experience, you have created a safe space for other women now so that they never feel like that again.
Yeah, I had to leave a studio with like my underwear stuck to my body. There's hair missing in some places and hair left in others, and there's pinpoint bleeding. And my sister comes out and she's like, "How did you love it?" And I'm like, "No."
That doesn't sound like something I would love.
So hopefully when you come to my studio, you feel very taken care of. You feel I've kind of combined this luxury from, these high-end spas I worked at with affordability from growing up and not having a lot and wanting everybody to be able to experience what luxury spa is like. And that's kind of where my company connected the two.
Sarah does this really well, my esthetician that Deborah introduced, and now I have a little family. But she is always doing research, going to talks, and listening to all these podcasts, sometimes about the industry, to kind of upskill herself. And you do a lot of competitions and conventions, and you're a judge for some of the sugaring competitions. Is that how you keep evolving to make sure your business is like keeping up with the times?
Yes. I mean, I think that you have to balance it all again. It goes back to balance. For me, everything's about balance. You have to have a little bit of everything. I didn't go this year to one of the events that I've been going to for a long, long time, which is kind of like the Olympics for estheticians.
Whoa.
And I did feel
Guilty.
I felt like, oh my gosh, I'm going to become irrelevant. And there's all these new sugaring companies popping up. And you know, when I started, there wasn't a bunch of sugaring companies. And now there's so many sugaring companies. So yeah, I'm just like anybody else where I kind of was like, oh no, like I'm going to fall behind and I'm going to become irrelevant. And
That's me.
yeah, so that's a real thing that you have to decide. Do you want to keep the pace with everybody, or do you want to be happy? Do you want to... I ran a lot in the beginning, so now I'm like, oh, I can chill a little bit, but I could see if I don't run the pace, I might fall behind, but that's okay because I want to be happy. And I don't need to be the most bought company. I don't need to be the busiest or selling the most. I want to be the best at my personal best. I say that a lot. And I've been saying that a lot my whole life is you just have to be your personal best. You don't have to compete with anybody else. It really, truly is your personal best. So right now I'm looking at the company and I'm deciding, what do I really want for this company? And it's just a company. I'm a human, I'm a person, and I need happiness and I want to be happy.